Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about heroes of the storm. I'm here, as always, with Kyle Fergusson. I forgot my own name. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and we're totally not tilted after the most dumbass quick match matchmaking that could have possibly ever happened.
You know, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you get three bruisers, they get a Dahaka and a no-healer game, they have a Zeratul that is spamming games and eventually gets a win. Like, you know, I'm glad it worked out for him. Ultimately, he put in the hours, Garrett, and we just wanted to grab a quick game.
He put it all on black, and it came up black.
Hey, no, yes, sort of. Yes, his machine was hot. I wanted to more think of it along the lines of he put in the work and slowly amassed his riches and eventually spent them on a modest house, which was that game. I mean, really, winning a Zeratul game with no healer and no tank, like how rewarding is that in the first place?
Like this. Yeah. That's how it is. That's how rewarding it is.
I grew up in New Mexico. Vegas was the closest Disney World. Those machines totally make fake noises at night, and it's very creepy.
Fake noises? Oh, what?
Yeah, like payout noise. They make the noise of coins falling in the tray when nobody's in the casino.
Oh, you know what? That thought never occurred to me, but you know, you gotta...
Pretty twisted.
God, what would I tell you if I told you, or what would you say if I told you the snow that falls on Main Street USA at Disney wasn't real snow?
I'd say that's Florida, and...
What if I told you the scent of oranges on Soarin' isn't real?
I'm already motion sick enough without them trying to give me fake smells.
What if I told you hope of a sensible composition in quick match was maybe misplaced?
Sometimes happens. All the same, we were trying to get rich quick. We may accuse this guy of sitting ahead of his computer for too long trying to get one Zeratul win. But we literally showed up day of thinking we could get a win. with no background work, no hours put in.
Yeah, we were just like, oh, we were going to start a half an hour ago. I'm a little wired on caffeine and you're a little tired. Let's just play a game, see if we can get a win. And I mean, we definitely got an experience, Kyle. I'll say that much.
Hey, I had my win this week. The kind of actually highlights what my Heroes Week has been. But hey, I won my first ever ranked Sonya game.
Dude, congrats.
Thank you.
Was this just like solo Storm Lincoln?
Just been working on it.
All right, set the stage for me, man. Set the stage. I want to know. I know what build you were doing, so let's skip past that because you're a smart man. I'm sure you were slamming.
I don't know how to do anything else.
No, most Sonyas don't. And Whirlwind build is not fun in my opinion. Okay.
Well,
what
my
battleground?
Point is actually a point there. Like there are so many slam build Sonyas that shoot their spear, land it, and then immediately start spinning, which is just a useless.
So what are you doing? No. Yeah, the Whirlwind is just there to keep you alive. You just save it for when you need a heal.
The only problem is doing a slam build and a slam build meta. I have no idea how to heal, but like I see a pile of minions and I go slam them. Oh, slam them, and then I go
slam them. You slam them. What? You just keep slamming them.
You just keep slamming, right? And that's what the level 1 talent's for, and not a. I'm not entirely sold on Furious Blow. I'm still using it, but I don't really get. Should I go tougher than nails? Is that like breaking the chain? I feel like I might want it sometimes.
Hold on. Let me do this right. Let me freaking pull up my Sonya talent calculator and remember
every
what
tough
cast
with seismic plan deals 50% more damage to the primary target.
Yeah, no, you just take it every time, man. Are you slamming? You're taking Furious Blow.
Okay.
What do you do? Frankly, I think Sonya's good enough. You'd probably be all right, but you wouldn't be doing your job as well as you should be doing your job.
True, and I think ultimately with the leap, poison, spear sort of combo you're going to execute on, the thing that might be killing you should be dead in the first place, so why worry about tough as nails? But it's still kind of a weird
shouldn't always
talent.
be leaping, though, and a lot of times when I'm not leaping, I would rather go Battle Rage than Life Funnel, personally. I just like having a little on-demand thing that is not dependent on me actually having a lot of things to hit around me for a decent heal. I'm a battle rage pusher. I will push battle rage. I love it.
I do think that Sonya's a bit toxic in the current form, though. Because my first ever Storm League game, a victory. This is my third Sonya, by the way, so two losses, and kind of felt zoned out and all that sort of thing, and not the best Sonya in the world. But I think she has the Kel'Thuzad Zod pre-update problem, because the game I won was 8 minutes long. And what happened was I had lane superiority. I pushed into their lane, into their wall. First of all, holy hell. I don't know if you've known this for the past 7 years, Garrett, but Sonya can really destroy a wall.
Yes.
Nobody else. Like, this is spell damage. Her auto attack seems okay on paper, but you connect with a building, and that thing is going down.
Especially slam build.
Oh, it's so stupid. Poor Leoric gets an update so that he can't deal damage to buildings anymore. I mean, look at the text on Skeletal Swing says, no, wait, that was, I guess that was on release, right? Yes, that was on release, that it had bonus text. All the same. Leoric crud on a wall.
It had bonus text and they removed said bonus text. But dude, hold up. Let's steer you away. I can see you, man. You are on a fast track, maybe not a fast track. You're on a steadily moving forward monorail to nerf Sonya Town. Here's what I actually want you to do. I want you to think about what you just said. Look at poor Leoric. Focus there. Forget Sonya. Focus on Leoric. Let's make
elevate everybody else.
What exactly? Okay.
But
We're all excited about Ragnaros right now. Have you played Ragnaros? He is the clunkiest piece of shit on the planet. He feels terrible. You go to smack something and you're like, sorry, it hasn't been 27 seconds since your last auto attack. You're gonna have to wait, buddy. Let's speed up his auto attack. Let's make him feel a little snappier. Sonya, despite her age. Okay, Sonya is a tech alpha hero. Most of our tech alpha heroes feel old, feel kind of sluggish and clunky. Sonya just feels so snappy. Coming in with a car analogy, it's just like a classic Porsche, man. It still works. The formula still just functions. It does everything you want it to do. It feels engaging. It feels responsive. Sonya just works. And then you've got your Leorics, you've got your Ragnaroses, and they just feel clunky and sluggish and like you're not being as active as you can be, especially by comparison to the Sonya meta we find ourselves in. So
my point still stands, and I wish to make it that it was toxic of me, who has been playing a lot of Jaina recently for giggles and fun, using piercing Ice Bolt to get into Sonya, realize that Shattered Ground deals more damage on the splash than the actual hit. And in that 8-minute Cursed Hollow game, they were all forced back behind the wall, and I murdered the hell out of them with splashes. The fact that they got on the back foot and I had a 2-level lead meant that my Shattered Ground Splash Slam was destroying them while they were even trying to defend.
This is where I do think we probably need to look at a nerf of some sort on Sonya. As much as I would like to see other bruisers, because here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of Sonya getting nerfed, and then I have to go play Ragnaros. I don't want to feel afraid of having to play Ragnaros. I want to feel excited about learning Ragnaros. But oh my God, the clunk, man. The clunk. It's too much.
Well, and there are strategies to counter that clunk, but they're not intuitive to the hero experience.
Right. But the thing is like, I'm not anti-slam build. I don't think I want slam build to go away, but I don't want it to do everything well, right? It's really good at killing frontline, and simultaneously it's doing extra damage to the backline while it's killing the frontline. I don't think it needs that. I think we need to look at Shattered Ground specifically. That's where I would put my ire, the target of my ire. If I had to look at one specific, I think, egregious talent in this slam build Sonya that we find ourselves slamming every time we pick her.
Of course, it's super fun. It's something that I feel like we're not adapting to overall because we're expecting a patch. Like, I feel like there is a world where we would just say, that's the tank's fault. Tank, stop standing in a straight line in front of us. Sidestep, maneuver around Sonya a little bit so that when she starts slamming, it's not splashing into the back line. There's counterplay there, but I feel like in the back of our brains, we're just going, it's going to get nerfed. Just don't even bother. It's why it's taken me so long to even invest in Sonya again. Not only because of friends playing her and all this sort of thing, but I just expected a nerf for so long now that I'm only just accepting the reality that she's probably here to stay until the end of the season.
We just have no idea anymore, like what the cadence of updates is going to be, right? So, and we've never really been in this position before. We've been in the position of having to readjust, but they called their shots. They basically informed us how long we were going to be waiting between updates. And now we don't have that info anymore. So, yeah.
I've always been just historically very slow to adapt to OP heroes because of my assumptions in that way.
You're a glutton for punishment, man. I mean, look how long you've been playing Mal'Ganis. I mean, why? Why are you making things harder on yourself?
Yeah. There's apparently a place for him, and it's alongside Medivh, and that's not going to happen.
Boy, that sounds like a major burden of execution.
A little bit.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to really invest in my Mal'Ganis play so that I can own when I get a Medivh on my team.
But it is interesting, and I do think that your comments about Ragnaros compared to someone like Sonya are well warranted, and I wonder if we could reduce that burden of execution on things even like Deathwing. Like, it's still bizarre to me that the primary way to play Deathwing is hiding in a bush and shooting fire from beyond a wall. That does not feel very Deathwing-y, and now Ragnaros, much like Anub'arak before him, has taken on that same role as well. And Malthael is starting to also play in this sort of mounted Garrosh Alaraki style.
Well, it's because the second they start to get focused, they're dead.
Yeah.
You can't get out as Ragnaros. You can't get out as Malthael. Like, what do you expect them to do? And then there's Deathwing. You like could probably start to walk away, but why bother when your throughput can be so much higher when you catch people unaware?
Well, and in this meta, like that's kind of the problem with Deathwing is we've got Tychus's, Sonya's.
Did you just end this economy and in this meta?
But that's the kind of weird thing we find ourselves in. The old giant killers like Kael'thas and Ragnaros. I don't think, actually, Ragnaros, I don't think has a requirement on his giant Scorcher. No, that's just hit heroes. But like the old Kael'thas, there were augments and trials you had to undertake in order to get a giant killer in the first place. And it seems we have filled up heroes with multiple giant killers that don't have those sort of requirements. Now, I still take a little bit of backseat there because Sonya's is at 16, and that's a long way to go. A lot of giant killers do come on around 13 when they have other requirements, and Kael'thas is at level 7. So not a perfect lineup there.
Yeah. I don't know. Leoric, I think, is also like he's finding a place. I would like to see that solidified. So why don't we give Leoric just a little bit of love? Give him back some of that building damage. I don't, like you mentioned, like either I think we need to make a call that doing that much damage to a building is just wrong, or that it's okay, potentially interesting, and dish it out to some other heroes who can push the lane.
That's an interesting comment. I wonder, we have been in a double soak. Do I even want to call it meta? We have acknowledged that double soaking is possible for a long while now. And because of, if you really want to go that far, tower ammo, but really, the landscape changed fundamentally in 2017 when we were no longer pushing to the wall and then making a choice that we'd go take camps or we'd push further. So what we've done is reduce the number of bruisers in some ways that are even decent at camps compared to something like Hogger. Hogger's the new standard for camp speed. So anyone who can't do it as fast as Hogger is naturally not going to really be afforded the time. And we've reduced the push power, and we have so many bruisers that suck at getting down buildings. Big example like Malthiel, who when you get to the wall, you just go, okay, time's up. What else can I do? And it's not really camp compared to Hogger. It's to go double soak. So there is a bizarre overarching problem there. And I think that with the longevity of this patch, we're now sort of feeling this giant killer problem on top of it because tanks don't want to play anymore.
Well, think about it. Yeah, you're tapping in. Yeah, Hogger is kind of the conversation I just, or the rant I just gave about being able to take down walls once you get there on Sonya, and really no one else can match her for that, is Hogger to mercenaries, right? And like the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about how, if nothing else, we were really looking forward to a patch because the draft meta is just kind of stale. But why is that? Like, how do you actually find yourself in a meta where the same heroes are getting drafted over and over again, and we're moving further and further away from map picks and that whole kind of concept, right? Like, how and why do we arrive there? It's because I think we're kind of tapping into it now. We have certain heroes who excel at things that we are going to want to do in every game, regardless of the battleground that we find ourselves on. You're going to want to destroy walls. Therefore, you kind of want to get that Sonya, and no one else can really do what she does in that regard. Same goes for Mercs. You're going to want to take Merc camps in every single game of Heroes of the Storm that you play. So why wouldn't you just always try and get the Hogger?
So you end up with this double soaking, sieging, camping hero, and that limits it greatly down. Of course, there's other people that can cover it, but in the end, those are now taking coordinated. A healer, Hanzo and Anduin have to go to that camp and do it together, which increases that burden of execution in a solo environment.
Exactly. And so I love and I'm not necessarily saying one way is good and one way is bad, or that the way it currently is wrong. I like the thought of like intent. Like, what are we going for? Do we want walls to go down faster? If the answer is yes, cool. Let's give that option to a few more heroes so we can have some draft diversity, or at least options. If the other team gets Sonya, I don't want to just feel like, well, crap, what do we take to try and keep up? You may not have anything. And the same goes for Hogger. Oh, well, they got Hogger. Okay, how are we going to outcamp them? It's going to be very difficult. I personally, I'm okay with quicker games. So I kind of like the idea of walls going down quick, of mercenaries being taken a little quicker. But I want some diversity in the draft and that power to be shared across a few heroes, not just like given to this hero elite, the 1% of heroes you can draft.
It's a fascinating issue with prolonged patches in that way, right? And it's exacerbated by the player base. As crazy and as accusatory as I want to say this, let's say there are 5 top heroes right now. Because of the lack of map picks, it's a little bit of that whoever gets the most of the 5 wins the draft. But then on top of that, you have players who play this game every single night who are sick of picking one of those 5, and they make a Smurf. And now they're an Asmodan main, regardless of what the map needs, which decreases your chance of getting those 5 you absolutely. So we make the game more horrible as a community ourselves because we want to break out of that. And it's a fascinating thing. And I think about the future. Like, should we have an AI that updates future games? Like someday, like the balance patches are controlled by an algorithm that just mixes things up so players can't settle and can't get weird and ultimately bored and start doing weird Smurf things. Or is there like, would we reject that as like humans? Would be like, no, I'm not having my game balanced by a computer. That means I'm just playing to the system and I'm being controlled by that in Skynet. And so they'd reject like from a human being.
I think that concept
argue with that.
That concept is so out there and it's never going to happen. So I don't know how to respond to it.
I'm a little in the weeds. It's true. But I do dream
you're in the swamp, sir.
I dream of the day still when like there's an MMO that is updated weekly with lands and events because an AI is capable of updating. But then again, you get into like with the bagging counter at the grocery store. That's a computer now. So it's a deep hole. Maybe I'll just jump out of it right now.
Kyle Fergusson is in the metaphorical Everglades at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm not sure.
We're horrible people is what I'm saying.
Yes, but we're also fans of a game that has gone a very long time without an update, and we're not too sure. We have a lot of feelings. We would like a change. We don't know when that change is going to come or what that change is going to be. And as we talked about last week, I'm also like, we used to have very open conversations about, well, let's go this direction, let's go that direction. But now I'm constantly really, really scrutinizing like what I truly want for the game, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be stuck with it for at least 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to think about, and we're going to talk even more about that. So I think we'll just pause for now, pick it back up when we get into the news discussion for this week. But I do want to take just a second and thank our patrons for supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you are unaware of this, it's an opt-in way that you can support our podcast. So if you like what we're doing here at Into the Nexus, you like this podcast, you get some value from it, and you want to give some value back, the Patreon's the best way to do so. We're an independent show. We're not paid by Blizzard, though. Blizzard, anytime, I keep saying it. You want to send your Blizz bucks? I'll get real positive about a lot of things real quick. No, not truly, but we really appreciate the support, everybody. It means the world to us. Your support helps us pay the bills, keep the lights on, put time into the show that I would probably have to put elsewhere into like extra freelance to make up the difference. So it really does go a long way to helping us out. And we also get to pay our guests. And next week, Kyle, who do we have on? We're bringing a guest on.
We have Bahamut coming on to talk about the CCL draft, which is happening this weekend.
Yep. And thanks to your support on our Patreon, we're going to pay him for his time, as we do with all our guests. So thanks again for the support, everybody. Check it out, patreon.com/ITN. Get in our Discord. Sign up for our monthly game nights. Get an ad-free version of the show when we have ads. And to our most recent patrons, Tyler Lankford, Ryan Kenny, and Andrew Musser? I'm going to go with Musser. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it. And thanks again. See you in the Discord very, very soon if you're not already in there. And now, Kyle, let's get to this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
And the news is, well, there just isn't much news. And so we've been thinking about it, and also there was a great Reddit rundown on the subject of like what to expect from Heroes of the Storm that goes all the way back to the dreaded jail and Brack letter when HGC was canceled. And kind of picks major highlights from K.O. Milker, Brett Crawford, David Warner, Kennebrew, basically anyone who from the team who kind of spoke up and gave an idea as to what was kind of on the Heroes of the Storm docket. Kind of a build your own roadmap, like assemble your own roadmap.
It's definitely some hearsay. We are totally in throwing the bones territory here. I mean, not that Robin Hood Prince of Thieves is the best movie ever, but I certainly think of that darn scene. We are just divining the stars, whatever we can take. And right now, our most recent communication that we can sort of pull from was from February 15th with Brett Crawford.
Happy Valentine's Day, Brett Crawford.
Yeah.
It's currently the middle of April, but happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, call him out.
Yeah, it's been quiet. So I mean, we've talked about the more recent stuff. You know, Brew's been great with keeping in touch, but going back to like comments from Milker from last year, it's just kind of wild because there's like mention of the future hero list being in the quote triple digits. Oh, that wasn't K.O. Milker. That was actually Brett Crawford in July of last year in an interview with Destructoid saying, quote, we have a future hero list that is in triple digits and still expanding.
Sure.
The rate that we're still getting new heroes, one of two things is true. Either Heroes of the Storm ain't going to die until long after I'm dead, or we're just never going to see a lot of these heroes.
Well, Yes. I mean, the hero list is very much like a dungeon master saying they have everything planned. I have notes on paper, but it doesn't mean it's going to work out.
Mm.
And I'd love to see dinosaurs. Like, isn't it King Crush, or is that the gorilla?
King Crush is the dinosaur.
Okay, yeah,
I'd love Devil Saur, if you will.
Yeah, but how important is that on the list of things? They all might not be important thing. Like, what if they're just bugs from Silithus?
Oh, you're thinking of King Mukla. Sorry, King Mukla is the gorilla.
Okay, it gives bananas, right?
Yeah, there are kings. There are two kings. There's King Crush and there's King Mukla. And Mukla is the gorilla and Crush is the Devil Saur from... What's the cool... It doesn't matter.
What, Ungo Crater?
Ungoro, thank you. Good Lord. I could not pull Ungoro from my brain.
That's okay. You still play a lot of WoW, so you've got new places and new exciting things to think about. I only have my memories.
I'm just little jab at World of Warcraft there. It's coming. 9.1's actually on PTR right now. I'm pretty excited. But
man, I've been seeing a lot of Final Fantasy talk recently.
Oh, I bet you I don't. Cool. You can go play a different World of Warcraft with a more bland universe. Oh, that's right. I said it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like my Walmart general value anime characters.
Dota apparently got a Yrel knockoff with a Heavenly Sword from Johanna.
Did they? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go Dota. Good for you. Haven't played you in 5 years, but good for you.
Yeah. Anyway. So we're divining the best we can from old Reddit posts, and we have a lot of little quotes like that future hero list. There's a quote here from July 16th of 2020 that says, doing a bunch of work to unify and extend our art tools. And that's probably our biggest part of unlocking the ability to make more content. So ignoring the barrier, let's ignore that barrier because we're going to talk about it. But that's really exciting. The idea that the pipeline could be sped up by advancing and improving the tools. And that's why we've entered this period of silence.
Could we get some confirmation on that from anyone, please? That'd be great.
Exactly. So all we need to know is we're moving right now. I haven't answered your emails because we're moving. That is where we're kind of in. And I understand why they wouldn't want to share that information because they still have to get the internet turned on. They got to settle.
You're going too far. They have the internet. I don't understand because if you're comfortable broadcasting that some work needs to be done on the tools, that there just needs to be some streamlining so that you can iterate quicker is the vibe I got from this. So if you're totally comfortable sharing that information, which I see no issue with, we all took this fine for the most part. I don't remember a Reddit fire be like, oh my God, the Heroes of the Storm tools are the worst thing in the world. Downward arrow YouTube thumbnails.
Wait, does anyone out there need some upvotes? Because we could totally ride this thread.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't remember seeing that when the KO Milker was informing of of this information. So if they were comfortable with that, then why? I'm curious. It piques my interest as to why the silence now. Like, if that is the we're trying to read tea leaves right now, right? But let's say hypothetically that is what's going on, that they're finally actually in the process of really getting their hands dirty and fixing some tools. It's time to, break this down so we can build it back up. Why not just tell us? Like, mention it. Like, hey, remember when we mentioned the tool thing? Yeah, we're doing it right now. Oh boy, we are just covered in grease and dirt and grime. We'll see you in a month when we get cleaned up.
Oh, it's so busy, right? I mean, the reality might be, too, that systems people get shared between teams and they're having to wait on other people before they can do the thing. I've seen a sync fix before. You've worked on cars. There are items in that sort of line of process that if you don't have, you end up getting stuck on.
I had actually, last night, I had the whole front of my wife's car off. Whole front of the car off. Got it back on in like 20 minutes because I've done this enough times now that I can do it without even following a guide. And a tiny little metal clip on the side indicator broke off, and it took me 2 hours to fix it.
There we go. That's reality right there.
Yeah, this is not a bit. This is not a bit. This actually happened to me last night, and
I can feel the anger. I can feel
a beer was
I can feel
opened.
the exacerbation.
No, I walked inside. I opened the fridge, popped a beer. I was like, all right, guess this is my evening.
Yeah.
Anyways,
My most recent one was I merged my Photoshop layers and didn't save a copy.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, buddy.
That picture will forever look like that now.
Well, now you just get to work on it like it's an actual painting because there's no undo with
over it.
You got to paint over, man. You got to paint over. Just go. Just layer on top. Pretend it's an oil painting.
Gross. I'll
What
let
would
it
you do,
dry.
man? What would you do, man?
So here's some facts that I can tell you all about, which is the patch scheduling. So last year we were on a pretty consistent once a month patch. In fact, these fell almost always at the first week of the month. Between the 1st and the 7th, there was going to be a balance patch. Going from let's go further back first, and we'll work forward.
Yeah.
So April 14th was one of our big patches with the call for help. June 6th was May and our weather anomaly. And August 31st was the Gladiator's Medallion. That stuff feels ancient right now. So it's worth kind of gauging your mind that that's all pretty recent stuff. We're all eager to have changed or explore or figure out, and gave us some puzzles, some of which people didn't enjoy the puzzles, but all the same, content last year was actually pretty busy in that regard. October 7th, balance patch. 28 days later, November 4th, balance patch. 27 days later, December 1st, Hogger, balance patch. But then we go all the way to January 19th. And that's the long Christmas meta, and we're used to it. But now we have gone from January 19th to March 2nd.
Yeah, so
we're looking at
December 1st to January 19th was 49 days. And so March 2nd was our last balance patch, so it's been 42 days or more than that.
So it's been 42 days between the January 19th and the March 2nd, and now we're at 43 days. So we still haven't reached the 49. The real problem that we kind of see there is if we were to return to the once a month balance patch, we're now too late. This week marks 1 month left in the season as we know it. So to receive a balance patch next week would be possible. But we are now squeezing balance patches too close together as we previously received them. So signs to me say right now, this is the meta till the end of the season. 1 more month of this.
So we're going to have the longest break in the history of this game's existence between patches.
Yes.
This is feeling so World of Warcraft. It's a little painful.
Has the WoW team communicated kind of what happened over there?
Okay, I'm sorry, you just said has the WoW team communicated, and I stopped listening.
I'm aware that, yeah.
Dude, you remember when we used to do a show about StarCraft 2 and we talked about the metaphorical ivory tower that the StarCraft devs would sit in, and about once every 6 months they would come and decree what the next half year of StarCraft 2 would look like?
That ivory tower, though, was clad in gold. That was a real bizarre situation. Because they would come down from on high, continue on some sort of platform out of our reach, and say, "You are all too dumb to understand our ways. And we are aware that you are slow to adapt. Therefore, we will not make changes to your game." Doors close, and you're like, "What? No, we want fun things. It's a for fun game." And they're telling us we can't handle it. That's never happened in the history of Heroes.
Frankly, we're pretty dumb when it comes to StarCraft. That's the game's operating on a different level. But
very true.
Yeah, that's very much what the communications kind of feels like with World of Warcraft. It's just like, this is what we're doing, and this is when it's happening, and we're not really explaining why. I'm sure it's the pandemic, man. Like, it's got to be. Like,
oh, totally.
We've talked about it. We've belabored it to hell and back. This shit ain't normal. But the thing is that here in Heroes of the Storm, we had a really normal 2020. And that's so I chalk that all up to like the reason this feels different than World of Warcraft to me is that it's like, well, we just had a whole year of everything pretty much staying on schedule. From the outside looking in, for like my expectations were met in 2020. They are not being met in 2021. That's really the long and short of it.
I agree. I wonder if our previous balance designer was working too hard in comparison.
Yeah, but it wasn't just Jackson.
Oh, sure. There's a team that implements those changes, right? But as a Grandmaster player, those issues are glaring from time to time. And the discovery you have from playing that intense of a league might not be under the same scrutiny. I'm not sure. We don't know who the balance designer is, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. And this was like one of the StarCraft problems, is everyone accused whoever was working on the game as not being as good at the game as them. That's ridiculous. But I do wonder if there was just more push from an individual to maintain that previous balance.
It was David Kim, man. David Kim used to have so much shit levied against him back in the StarCraft 2 days. But I think, it's the way communication strategy has changed for like the entire gaming landscape. It's pretty crazy.
It is, isn't it? It's this isn't a processed thought. I didn't know we'd be going here, so excuse me while I archaeology through this and try to knock some rocks off.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we're here for processed thoughts, I've been doing it wrong.
Okay, yeah, probably not the best place for podcasts. But it is fascinating that Twitch and podcasting around for a lot longer, of course. But as the internet became more adapted, as phones became the primary way that people interacted with the internet, during that time, companies invested in community managers in huge swaths, just absolutely wanted to kind of control their message and interact with their player base. Now we see kind of the opposite happening, a lot like what's happened with beta testing, right? Like QA has decreased and beta tests have increased. And now we're seeing community managers and that sort of communication greatly decrease across all games, while streaming is as big as it's ever been. So I wonder if it's a business strategy of just the people handle themselves. Like we don't need to communicate with our players when Asmongold is live 12 hours a day. And if they want somewhere to go talk, they can go in that chat and watch it zoom by at full speed.
I don't know where to take my next thought, because I'm just like, I'm not sure anything you just rattled off is healthy or conducive to a positive environment.
Probably not. It probably isn't the right idea. It's that problem that this isn't a normal relationship. Ultimately, this isn't entirely healthy. But let's imagine it was. Let's imagine for a quick moment that this is a one-on-one, healthy, stable relationship between two individuals. And for a time, you're like, hey, can you come over tonight? Oh, yeah, I'm so busy. I got this, I got that, I got this and that and this and that. And you get this whole text and you're like, okay, that's all understandable. But eventually you hit a point where they're just like, no. You go, whoa, my heart. Holy crud, my heart. And now I think we've even reached a point where the no has stopped and you've invited your friend to do the texting for you. And they're live doing it. They text, I guess the analogy falls apart here, but they're texting everybody 12 hours a day on their live stream. And when you ask questions, hey, where's my significant other? You're like, go check out my friend's live stream. They'll tell you all about it.
I lost the analogy, man. I'm off the.
We're in the weeds.
I've fallen off. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. Every community's mileage varies in terms of where it ends up in an emotional state, right? And I think right now the Heroes community as a whole is in a pretty sensitive emotional state, bordering on angry and toxic.
Yeah.
I think it just bring it back to the relationship thing. It's like you're just not talking to each other. It's one way, and so you're both in your own little hole, like coming up with really bad, probably unhealthy assumptions because you're not talking to each other.
The imagining is so often more dangerous to a relationship than what actually happened.
Yeah.
And that's where we currently find ourselves, and we need to have a nice sit down. And again, I invite that sit down to happen on this show, but we are currently not sure who to contact for that particular invitation.
I have contact PR multiple times, and anytime Heroes of the Storm is in the body of an email I send to anyone in PR, I never hear back.
Maybe we can hide it. Maybe like if we start the first sentence with "here we are," and then the second sentence starts with "everybody," and we just kind of,
subliminally request the Heroes interview.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. It'll get moved where we want.
Yeah. I got nothing, man.
That's what we've got to work with.
I have no segue out of this. I don't know what's going on with Heroes. I got nothing.
Moving on then.
Learn Sonya, everybody. She's gonna be good for a while.
Yeah. It's still Falstad bug. Still work on Falstad. Still work on Sonya, and I fully believe that we will be in this meta and this balance for another month.
Yep. Well into the CCL. So just go learn Falstad.
Yeah, but they can't because they have rules. Like they're not like at home where we just play whatever we want and say, "Oh, I didn't know," because you did. But the whole bug with the continuing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're like you were sitting around like, "Oh, waiting for CCL to see some Falstad play," you won't. So just
the auto attack, but yeah, it's not what they want to be running.
Yeah, exactly. So more on that next week when we have Bahamut on. But let's talk about a cool guide that went up this week. In this week's strategy segment, we'll be highlighting a nice piece of community content here.
Choose a talent.
Choose a talent.
Talent? Ah, that seems generous.
Don't reveal our plans to our foes. I mean it. Not a word.
So Kyle, you alerted me to, and I saw Tips of the Storm go up, but I didn't see this Ragnaros wave timing thing. But if you haven't seen it, we got a link in the show notes. Elite Sparkle has started doing Tips of the Storm, and there's a great little Ragnaros lava wave timing article up at the moment, complete with some really useful little graphics that were made for every single damn battleground in the game, and it's basically finding out the timings for each lane to throw your lava wave on it.
So this is extremely detailed and has all the sort of caveats you might want for a Ragnaros main. You may have noticed that not all the lanes are the same length, though the minions do clash together at the same time because, hey, they both spawn at the same time. In general, when you do a Ragnaros wave, if you're interested in becoming a Ragnaros wave main, which many of you are because you're looking for ways to maybe get out of bronze or get through gold or something like that, 15 seconds cast time. So look at the clock at the top, see 15 seconds, cast your wave. Look at the top, maybe 45 seconds, cast your wave. And you're guaranteeing yourself maximum XP because that next wave will spawn as that wave goes across the screen and across the game board. That, of course, destroys minions, and because it deals the killing blow, it soaks XP. So Ragnaros has always been very, very popular in those sort of leagues as people try to figure out ways to counteract the macro that might not be happening or a lane that is currently completely pushed out with no way to go get it because your team won't stop brawling. Ragnaros is also used in higher leagues to counter things like Lost Vikings, which like to very slowly push up waves, and being able to counter that is a great way to use Ragnaros. Also, again, another thing going on right now, of course, is that should Sonya, Hogger, and our top bruisers, even Diva, get nerfed in the slightest, Ragnaros is going to elevate up and could easily become the way that people can constantly 5v4 or even 5v3 at level 20, as Ragnaros can manage basically all the lanes. So that's the simple version. However, Elite Sparkle here has broken it down by the length of those lanes, and for instance, the lava wave timings on Dragonshire are 16 seconds and 46 seconds in the top lane, whereas they're 18 seconds and 48 seconds in the middle lane. And because the way the game advances, spawn times change a little bit, catapults change a little bit, and you advance this time by a bonus 1 second for each 4 minutes that have passed in the game time. Probably, unless you're really, really optimizing to an absolute degree because you're Ragnaros main and masters, you're not going to need that extra tidbit. Just focus on the 15 seconds and the 45 seconds.
Yeah. I like the guy too because it goes into some like wiggle room saying that if you're a little late, it's not the worst thing in the world because Lava Wave still picks up globes. So if you're like a little late and the globe is still there, you're good. It's still going to get picked up.
Wait, really? Is that it runs across XP globes that are just chilling?
I believe that's the case, yeah.
I thought you had to get a killing blow.
Did you have to get a killing blow?
I assume so, because that's how like Jaina blizzards and stuff work.
No. Then I don't know why you would why would it be okay to be late then?
I think so in the guide he says it's okay to lava wave a little late. Yes, because you wouldn't want to lava wave early, because then the next wave that spawns at the core that'll be killed by the lava wave isn't there yet. So
okay, so it's just because the wave is spawned. Okay, that'd be a better way to word that then.
Right. So you see that top lane and you're curious about when to cast it. So you cast it at 13. The lava wave goes across the whole map and hits right in front of the core, and then the wave spawns. You just missed out on XP. But if you did it at 16 instead of 15, you're still going to get that wave.
Okay. Early is bad. A little late is okay.
Yes. And if you miss so much that you're getting towards 15 and you're now more towards the 45, it's better to now wait for 45.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, again, I like this for no other reason than the graphics are really easy to read and understand, and gives you very simple numbers to keep in the back of your head to, again, as you mentioned, look at your timer and know if you should be throwing a wave or not. Funny enough, like the one that differs the most is Towers of Doom. Top, middle, and bottom are the same at 24 seconds or 54 seconds. However, Towers of Doom is also Ragnaros' worst map by like a horrible deficit.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What? But you're not going to do anything because you can't make a win condition to the core.
Right. Like, what is the point, really? I mean, I guess you could clear the way for sappers if you're stacking bottom, but you need to probably be escorting them in the first place.
Yeah, that just sounds awful.
Yeah.
Never really thought. I mean, he lists every single map on here. You got Hanamura timings if you really want them, but
yeah.
And in fact, I did an old kind of caveat that was brought up to me a long time ago was Tomb of the Spider Queen. Don't ever use rag on Tomb of the Spider Queen because you're making gems that no one's going to collect. However, the power of Molten Core is so strong during those pushes because often teams will pick one lane to go big on that rag kind of breaks even with the lava wave there as well.
Not by win rate.
No, probably
it's
not.
Low. It's low on Tomb of the Spider Queen.
And it also gets into like that Braxis problem with Rag 2 of like, are you drafting to lose? Because you're going to be using your Molten Core and your Lava Wave in situations where you're not going to instantly kill it, first of all, because they're monsters, not minions.
I mean, Rag in general suffers majorly on 2-lane maps.
Yeah.
Braxis and Hanamura are only a slightly better scenario than Towers of Doom for Ragnaros.
You can say, well, just go slam. Just go his other alt. But I would say that kind of gets into the Tychus problem I have with 2-lane Tychus is he's good in team fights, but you need something more hectic to really do the solo queue, delete somebody sort of thing. And Ragnaros, either solo lane, which feels very weak, or in the 4-man, which would just kind of be insane, is just always going to get targeted. Everyone's going to know exactly where he is. He's just way better in these maps, a lot like Stealthies, where he can sit in that bush and work around the enemy team.
I was about to say, this is how we end up with Bush Ragnaros.
Exactly.
But so anyway, Ragnaros is best maps right now are Dragonshire, Garden of Terror, and Infernal Shrines. And Garden of Terror and Infernal Shrines have the same lane timings, 14, 18, 14 for top, middle, bottom, and then 44, 48, 44 on the far end of your timer for both of those. And then Dragonshire is a little bit different. The middle is the same, 18 or 48, but then you've got 16, 46 for your top and bottom. So yeah, they're most of these timings are in the ballpark, right? And I could see where if you played with this graphic like on your side monitor, you would probably start to kind of muscle memory your lava wave timings.
It's definitely extra work, and the cooldown, what is the exact cooldown? Is it 100 seconds? 120 seconds doesn't facilitate a perfect lineup with these timings. So if anyone's interested in learning Rag, this is the way to give your team in low leagues that XP lead they don't understand. Yeah. They won't know they don't want to know what you're doing. You're 2 levels up. You now can actually fight on Ragnaros, come in, take care of a lane far away as people start to group forever after 10. Because they also grouped forever in the early game too. But, now they're really into it now that they're 10. But the next big step for you is Molten Core. And Molten Core is so powerful on things like Dragonshire, where there is that single objective. And you just deal so much damage. Like, that's the real power of Molten Core, is the dragon is pushing your lane. You aren't going to D the building with it. Don't already be getting hit by the dragon when you pop that thing. You want to be behind the wall. You want to be raining on the target. In fact, one bit of advice I heard was don't even bother with the stun unless you're going to hit at least 2 people. Like, the wind up on your big swing while in Molten Core is so slow that you're actually better off spending that time aiming your other 2 short cooldown damage abilities.
Didn't think about that. That makes sense, though.
And it's there. It's like a button, and like the dragon walks in, he's the only one. And you're like, aha, big swing. Not worth it. Just keep dealing damage. And we're ignoring the build completely right now because the build is the easiest build there can be with Blast Wave. And Blast Wave gives you a lot of lane clear.
You don't want to vector target your meatball?
Not exactly. It's a decent tool and it deals decent damage, but honestly, just blast waving into a wave, giving it a big old slam and meatballing just all in one big go means Ragnaros can double soak on really close lanes like middle, bottom, Infernal Shrines. And then you can lava wave the top lane, maybe once your fort is gone or their fort is gone when things start getting dangerous, of course, past 10. And now you have a triple soak Ragnaros who lets the rest of the team do whatever they want and only participates in fights that he's actually good at or has a superior position for or advantage because he was sitting in that bush in the right position. So I really do believe that Ragnaros is poised to be the hot thing if we get there.
Post the Sonya nerf, yeah, it sure does seem like he's in position for sure. Like we said, we're not expecting this to like carry your butt from Diamond to Masters by any means, but this will help your XP acquisition in lower leagues, and as a nice little achievable thing to work on if you're trying to spruce up your Ragnaros, expecting a Sonya nerf like we all are.
Well said.
So go check it out. Again, links in the show notes. If you never checked the show notes before, they go up when the podcast is posted. So if you're watching live, it's not up yet, but it's always over at amove.tv. Look for the latest Into the Nexus post. It's a Google Doc link at the bottom of the post. Let's go check it out. All right, let's take a question or two from our emails.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. If you're a patron, well, you can just message us directly in the patron Discord. Go ahead and add us. It's totally cool. We're fine with it. Lupus64 writes in and says, hey, Garrett and Kyle. Question on 4-man rotations, especially on 3-lane maps with a 1-4 split like Spider Queen and Dragonshire. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, that was detailed. I liked it.
Ooh, yeah. Any tips for building and playing a 4-man that can rotate quickly without sacrificing point control / team fight? Not just in terms of hero picks, but also who's doing what while the other 4-man is bugging your team. Thanks. Edit. I guess Infernal counts too. Yes.
Yes.
It can.
Yes. Though Infernal is also probably the most harassed 4-man there is because of those 2 little fancy square bushes that Garroshes and stuff like to sit inside of. So you're going to have a much easier time doing 4-man rotations on even something like Dragonshire, but it gets kind of messy. Honestly, when it comes to Dragonshire right now, it's 1-3-1 is the big strategy. And your bottom is usually something weird like a Hanzo or maybe even a Zeratul, who is just going to get the soak without dying.
Definitely not what I'm experiencing in pickup games, but
No, probably not. What you're probably experiencing is top lane solo 4-man. What are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna go soak mid because you guys forgot about it for too long.
yeah, and I'm pushed out anyway because I've been up here so long. I won a 1v1 twice. Just a little brag there.
Damn,
little brag.
flex, man.
I was Sonya, man. She needs to get nerfed.
You got behind the wall, you splashed on them, they died. Who knows what's going on? But apparently it was too toxic for Kel'Thuzad to keep, so using enemy buildings to kill them. It ain't right. It ain't right.
Hey, if you're frozen or chained, you don't have a choice. You know what you do have a choice? Not standing where the splash is going.
I can move my position. I'll line that up.
Counterplay to that. There's counterplay to that. Don't stand in the splash.
You're just trying to keep Sonya buffed. Okay, so I would say my first bit of advice is going to be Johanna, because Johanna has lane clear and survivability to actually lead the rotate through enemy territory like at Infernal Shrines. You could go through the enemy side with your shield glare, and not die, be able to check the bush before you walk into it. In general, now you've scouted out what your team didn't have to when they safety path. Dragonshire, they might have to safety path all the way around the back by the Giants camp, which is bad. And the tank should facilitate a safer, more dangerous rotation.
That is the number one thing I want. That was going to be the number one thing I'm concerned about is just having a tank that can scout relatively safely, or it has an out if they get Garrosh tossed. Like they go to check a bush and boop, oh shit, there was a Garrosh there. Johanna is decent for that for sure. Muradin can, defensively dwarf toss his butt to safety. You got some options there. But that's the number one thing I want is a tank who knows to even care about that.
The other big thing about Johanna in this way is she is used to lane clearing. So when people play Johanna, they stay in the lane. They go in there, they condemn it, they stick around, they grab the gem butts from the Tomb of the Spider Queen stuffs, and then they're the last one out. In that way, when the lane is clear, which means everyone's on the same rotation. Rotations are really hard when you get into things like Diablo, because Diablo is also a bush predator and will often stand off screen, as it were, off vision for as long as possible to keep that threat on the enemy 4-man, to see if they make a mistake, to see if they walk by a wall that Diablo can use. Which means it's now up to your, let's say, Hanzo, Jaina, Uther, to clear that lane, maybe collect the gems that drop, and maintain their awareness and safety enough to then begin their rotation bottom without you. So there's this weird, very natural issue where people want to follow the tank, and if the tank leaves the lane before it's cleared, Tassadar sticks around and keeps clearing it. Now he's late on rotation. Now he's vulnerable to Garrosh.
Yeah. Again, my head's coming at this from a pickup game perspective. And so much just goes down to I'm just happy if it's not the Jaina leading the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just keeps kind of like everything's coming up Millhouse. Everything's coming up Johanna for me. Because the other thing I want is whoever that tank is once they have kind of led the way through that rotation, just for them to actually stick around long enough to finish clearing the wave so we get the XP. In the case of Tomb of the Spider Queen, like you said, actually stick around to also gather the objective bits before we start the rotation again. Because you can have one. You can have a tank that leads the way for the rotation, but maybe they don't stick around for the wave to get cleared. And whoever does stick around ends up getting ganked on the back end. And that's annoying. So I really would like both, but it's nice if at least one of those things is covered. Maybe the tank's a little late, but at least they stick around to clear the wave. Or maybe they don't stick around to clear the wave, but at least they lead the way on the rotation. One of the two makes me really happy. Having both of those things check marked, and it just keeps coming back to it's a lot of responsibility to the tank to set the tempo. Other than beyond that, in pickup games, I think you need to probably become social. You might need to be like, hey, Squishy, who keeps leading the way and has died 4 times. Let's exercise a little patience and wait for someone else to lead the charge through the bushes.
Yeah, I remember when the Tomb of the Spider Queen rotation between top and mid was a rarity in my league. Since then, it hasn't really become an issue, but I would say I'm going to ping rotation and ping middle, ping top, and I just bring us back and forth between those two in a rather heavy-handed way. But your 4-man will also be interrupted by rather popular heroes in the 4-man. Like Zul'jin is a great example of this. You clear the lane, it's time to rotate to mid, but there's 4 heroes in this lane still, and you bet you know what Zul'jin wants to do. Not rotate. So Johanna's like, rotate, heads to mid, Zul'jin's still bottom and dies because he was trying to get some stacks. Same thing happens with Kel'Thuzad. Same thing happens with Raynor if he goes level 1 quest. Hanzo, auto attack quests. All these things can just break down a rotation because a hero wants to linger. The one I absolutely despise the most is Kaidaran Amulet Tassadar. You want to stand around and tickle them? We got lanes to clear. I don't give a crud about your bounce and hit laser eventually.
Anything else you don't give a butt about?
Let's see. I'll look through my. Luckily, Jaina's pretty good. I understand why Jaina would want to get ice block, but she's also aware she has to lane clear, so she usually pieces out just fine. Greymane knows he's got to get to camp, so Mephisto's a bad one because Mephisto does his shade teleport, which means he's now invested in this activity for at least 2.5 seconds, and so the lane is about to end. You're rotating faster than the enemy. You are ahead. You are winning in this case. And Mephisto's like, here they come. And then he spends 5 seconds farting around, and now we've all rotated and he's alone and he dies, or now the rotation is ruined because one of our primary DPS is not rotating with us and we've slowed down again.
Or coming around again to like why the Sonias and Zuls and these types of characters are popular for these sorts of things, because they can throw down like a Mephisto, but they also bring plenty of wave clear to the equation.
This is also a Johanna issue, right? Like the fact that I have, it's like working. The one I always think of is when I worked as a barista. Like there came a point, and a beautiful point in that job, where I could just make whatever the coffee was without even thinking about it. My hands could just do it. And I could fart off about D&D or whatever I want in my brain. That's kind of what playing Johanna's like. We've all done it so many times. Every Johanna's not entirely there. But that also means they're glaringly aware of everything that's going wrong because they have the spare brain space to get angry about it.
This is why I like focusing on a single hero at a time, because it eventually the hero mechanics recede to the background. And you can keep an eye on the mini-map and watch the macro game and have a better head for all of that. But yeah, I think this is some good general tips.
Yeah, there's a process to it, as we've discussed. So I want you to start with Johanna and really focus on lane clear in as many heroes as you can get it. And having that tank lane clear is just really, really nice. As you start to advance past that point, you can start hiding the tank, which is really just about harassing and dismounting the enemy team. When Zul's doing a double rotate on Towers of Doom, it's great that he has skeletons, but it's also the fact that he can throw out a bone prison as he passes the person who's passing him, which causes them to rotate slower. And so you start to snowball, start to get out ahead. And the more ahead you are in lane clear, the faster you're rotating, the more time you can spend harassing that enemy team with a level lead, get a kill, and Bob's your uncle, and victory's ahead.
I don't have an Uncle Bob, but yeah, sure. Sounds good.
I had a Grandpa Bob.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Good man, that Bob.
I had a Grandpa Arthur.
That's a good name.
Yeah, we just called him Grampy Art.
Oh, that's adorable.
That was my grandfather. Oh, miss him like crazy. But yeah, so let's take another question. So Woody wrote in and says, for which ability would the smallest change in range or radius have the greatest impact for better or worse. For example, I feel like if my E on Gazlowe was 10% smaller, I would never hit it. Love the show. Keep up the good work. Boy, I think damn near anything could apply to this. But like you know where my brain went first? Where does my brain always go first?
Sonya?
Arthas.
Rexar. Arthas. Oh, Arthas. Okay.
Arthas is aura, man. Just make it a little bit bigger. You're never going to get away from that Arthas.
It would be fun if it stacked faster based on how close you were to him.
Oh. We'd give one more bush hero. The Arthas just wait in the bush, and as soon as you get too close,
we're probably so close to that happening.
Just bush Arthas.
I bet you if Death Coil build wasn't so popular or wasn't so fun, that we would have bush Arthas, because that's a great way for him to sustain himself and walk towards enemies. But the second that self-healing went away, man, yeah, we'd have bush Arthas.
Yep. I mean, there's so many things I think you could tweak like ever so slightly. Like speed of projectiles is one we don't talk about that often. But if you did tweak it, think of any skill shot in the game and now think of adjusting the speed on it. And just what a mind bender that is. Like, remember when we all started moving 10% faster? And none of the skill shots were sped up? Woo! Ooh. That was a brain screwer. So now just take any one projectile and make it travel faster. A little faster, or make it travel a little slower. Technically traveling a little bit faster would, in a vacuum, be considered a positive thing, but think of how many more skill shots you would miss because you're so used to the speed that it currently travels. So you would probably lead a little too much and actually fire it too soon. Kind of a thing. So like whether it's a net positive or a net or negative is a bit of a mixed bag, although those are the sorts of things that we would eventually adjust to. I remember. Oh, go ahead.
Kerrigan lost talents that had to do with increasing the size of her impaling blades. And in general, like ETC used to have one, and we've moved away from those sort of talents.
That's a good thought. Impaling blades with a wider radius, yeah, because then
that's
pretty much always hitting your combo.
Yeah, because that's such a careful counterplay maneuver of moving sideways, walking towards Kerrigan during it, so you sort of speed over the pile of blades. That would be my biggest surprise if they tweaked it. Granted, not a hero we see a lot. I mean, Jaina too has radius, or perhaps maybe the last radius talent that doesn't do anything else.
There's one for Blast Wave. We've been talking about Ragnaros this whole damn time, and it's in the build everyone's going.
That's true. What else is on it? Because so Jaina's is increased cast range by 75% and radius by 30%. Right. And there's a build going on the way there. Ragnaros's wave talents kind of suffer from if you didn't do the early ones. Like if you missed out Engulfing Flame at level 1, you're now down 75% damage on Blast Wave. So you get to Tempered Flame for a shield, and guess what? It's not going to be that great without that original go.
Yeah, and hell, I mean, Woody brings up Gazlowe, level 1 rocket boots, which is, I believe, still the most popular level 1 pick, increases the range of Explodium charge by 30%.
That's true. Yeah, not a radius increase, but yes, a range increase that can be so easy to... there's a hero I suck with when I don't get the range talent. Tychus! Yes!
Oh, yeah.
That is one where you normally 90% of the games you're going to go grenade, but every once in a while you need that dash because you're fighting a million skill shot chromie stuffs. And you're thinking, okay, I'd kind of like to jump a little further and move a little faster. And I miss every grenade during that time. It's just the worst.
No, that's a level 1 talent. You're used to playing the entire game with it.
Yeah.
Boy. But yeah, I really do think you could apply this to damn near anything. And it would be really problematic. I mean, maybe that's something they'll do with Sonya. Do you think there's a possibility that they reduce the range on the slam splash? Because that would be a major deficit to slam. Thing is, though, you're now affecting like the base ability, as opposed to like the power is derived from the build, So it's probably a lot more simple. It's simpler and straightforward to take a look at the talents that are making this ability so, as you put it, toxic. But it's just another example of that pulls from conversations we had today.
I think that's an interesting idea, and I'd love to see it calculated in a meaningful way. Because Slam Build Sonya, of course, I remember this one time. I was out of my mech diva, and a slam hit the front line and came back and killed me. And it felt awful. Tom, you're an awful, you're a great person, but it hurt. It hurt, Tom. It hurt. If we reduce the bonus splash range on that from 66 to maybe 33, does it hit the clump where like Gul'dan and Asmodan like to hang out in a team fight? Do we punish the right heroes for being closer in behind the tank rather than punishing every hero across the whole team fight?
Well, yeah, Tychus would be in that too, right? Because Tychus is up in the mix.
Yeah, and if you're slamming Tychus, like, yeah, it's maybe not the most giant killer damage in the world, but still, like, Tychus should perhaps take more damage from Sonya in that instance than backline Ana should. Like, Ana getting hit by these slams is a little silly when she's a sniper.
Yes. We're getting thematic now, but at the same time, I think it also works just in a game design sense.
Right, well, an old strategy in deducing how you were going to build a hero was about seeing how the clump was going to work on the enemy side and if the clump was happening in the front, middle, or back. Obviously, in the back, you've kind of got that concave situation where there's very little chance that Hanzo and Li Ming are both standing next to each other. But the closer you get in on that triangle, the more likely you are to succeed with something like Burn Flesh on Kael'thas.
Interesting thoughts. I've always had this thought that, and especially since the light rework, that I have to get just a little too damn close to people to heal them on Lily.
That is how you sort of select which target you're going to heal, is by being closer to them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's...
At the same time, dude, like, I'm trying to heal people when they're moving between lanes, and I'm like, no, come back, damn it.
That'd be interesting. I'd be curious to see what the range difference between something like Serpents and Cups is, and if you should be Serpenting as they sort of pass you instead.
I still would like just an activatable to highlight someone. That's where my Cups go until I turn it back off and it goes back to auto fire.
Oh, that's kind of cool, like a Cups focus.
Yeah, like the was Zenyatta in Overwatch has like a healing mark.
Yeah.
Something like that, but it's not doing anything other than biasing my Cups toward them.
That'd be interesting. Maybe you're stepping on the toes of Morales. It's unique enough, really. Morales and Lily don't really have a lot of overlap. That'd be cool. That'd be a cool way to up the skill. Well, both are skills. Running around in there on Lily and getting hit a little bit and getting your fast feet and all that is part of the game. But I feel you. I understand why you would want that.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. That's a cool question, Woody. And one, too, I'd like to hear some... This is the kind of thing, like, we could have people writing with, like, their own take on this, and it would be a really interesting conversation. Like, you talk about one hero and one ability, and there's some pretty interesting ramifications. Well,
and particularly those that have that perfect overlap, like the Gul'dan sort of giant killer situation. Like, what happens if you increase the radius of Maev's knives? Does that make her easier to play, or is it still that half moon crescent and just as difficult as it was? It just has a quality of life factor now.
Yeah. So anyways, folks, let us know. Do you think there's some things where we should just have a little more range or a little less range? Write in itncast@gmail.com. You can also tweet the show at itncast. But I think this is as good a place as ever to put a bow on this episode, Kyle.
A nice big bow.
Nice big bow, yeah. Thank you for your emails, everybody. Keep them coming. So before we leave, I want to thank our patrons again for their support. Check out patreon.com/ITN. if you want to keep supporting us here, making this Heroes of the Storm content. Huge thanks to our producers, by the way, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, and Sean B. Really, really appreciate it. Want to become a producer? Check out patreon.com/ITN. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. And other than that, around the table, Kyle, dude, when you're not going into the Nexus with me, where can people find you? Sometimes still going into the Nexus with me.
Yes, sometimes we do that. Sometimes I go into Nexus with other people. That's all over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. If you want Heroes of the Storm gameplay, as well as Valheim gameplay, which I say in full frustration and anger because we got our bodies back, and well, you'll just have to watch the video to see what the heck that was about.
But you won't see us get our bodies back.
No, we did that offline because it took me a full 20 minutes of sneaking to get back to mine. But hey, I did it.
Got my body back 30 seconds after you ended the stream.
I'm glad it worked so swiftly for you.
Yeah. So I'm glad your sneaking worked for you, sir.
Yeah, it was nice. I took advantage of the stealth. Anyway, a big announcement. DM Gives Inspiration is back. So season 8 is on. First episode goes out today on the Become a Dungeon Master for 5th edition advice show. It's a solo show. It's 15 minutes long. And there are now, this would be 71 episodes for you to check all about different topics. 15 minutes. Oh, you're gonna run a dragon? Go grab the dragon episode. You're gonna do a castle? Well, that's next episode. You want to build a castle? You want your players to buy castles and fill them with furniture? That's next episode.
So DM Gives Inspiration how to Dragon Age Inquisition?
Without the disappointment, man. That was messed up. Like they gave you a throne chair and you used it like twice. And a goat was thrown at a wall. It was funny, but they didn't really utilize. There was battlements on top of that castle, and there was never like a good fight up there. I heard maybe one of the expansions had a fight in the castle, but there was just a lot of potential left there.
It did seem ripe to like have it like burned down in the final act.
Yeah, exactly. The castle's siege, and you totally know like they wanted to because it looked like they wanted to, but the Frostbite engine or something. You know, BioWare, they were battling.
Was that Frostbite? That was Frostbite?
Isn't it always Frostbite the problem with BioWare games? Or is that just Mass Effect?
Wait, maybe I think I'm just old, and because I think of Frostbite as something newer than that, but it probably isn't. Probably isn't, Kyle.
You do your outro, and I'll let you know. Yep, it was Frostbite. It was Frostbite.
Cool. Can I do my outro now?
Frostbite 3.
I'm so glad you're giving me permission.
As the host of this show, you may now proceed.
Wonderful. Other host of this show. Garrett Art on Twitter. That's where you can follow me. Recently got a haircut, so if you only get this show, in audio form, you can go see my haircut.
You're missing out
on Twitter. What are you doing? I post pictures of my dogs. I tweet about all kinds of nonsense. So go check it out. Garrett Art on Twitter. amove.tv for this podcast and every single other podcast that I produce. I just literally, like an hour and a half ago, posted a brand new episode of WoW Killer. I do a WoW show with Taliesin, and we tend to talk about like one subject at length within World of Warcraft. Of course, today the one subject was 9.1, which means we really had to work. We cheat sometimes. The subject is 9.1, and there's like 30 things to talk about in here. So that's what we did. You want to hear our thoughts about the 9.1 PTR? Go check out WoW Killer, wherever podcasts can be found. The Angry Chicken, also going strong. Talked all about the new Hearthstone nerfs this week. As far as I'm concerned, the new expansion didn't start until this past Monday or Tuesday. So if you want to get my thoughts on that, go listen to The Angry Chicken. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Seriously, think about it. We had a lot of talk. We had a long talk today, Kyle. We had a long chat about how the future is unclear for Heroes of the Storm. But we're still here. We're still enjoying the game, and we still put a lot of time and effort into this show for you, and it's because you're out there listening. Patrons do a lot of the heavy lifting. We really appreciate the financial support, but just seeing those download numbers means the world to us. It helps us go out and find sponsorships. So if you got a friend who doesn't listen that loves Heroes of the Storm, maybe recommend the show. And also accept our thanks. Thank you so much for listening, because without you, we wouldn't still be doing this.
Thank you.
So that's going to wrap it up. We'll see you in a week's time. Until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.